So again, hi everybody, Steve Cady with our 6015. I don't know that header. Ignore the header there. I don't know how that happened. So it's 6015, and it's for our summer 2015, and we are just doing a quick introduction to the course, kind of a preview session tonight. And what I was saying is because we had to cancel last week, what happened is Joe gave me a heads up. You all are pretty well done, ready to jump in. So I've done a little bit more, and we'll get kind of started tonight. But think of this as a design session. The other thing that in designing collaborative events, there's a basic process in which there's leadership, there's a design team, and then there's an event. And each of those pieces have those three questions. What's the purpose? Who needs to be involved? And what conversations need to take place? So typically, whenever you do a collaborative event, a strategic planning session, a process improvement session, you will typically have those three steps involved in the process. You'll have leadership engaged, either a top leader only or a top leader and the top leader's core leadership team, and you'll engage them before this event. And that engagement will be around purpose, who needs to be involved, and what conversations need to take place, and engaging them to get ready for that larger event. You'll have a design team or an event planning team, it's sometimes called. And the event planning team is a subgroup or a microcosm of the larger group that's going to be getting together. And that design team is typically a representative sample of that larger group. And it can be thought of as a focus group, a max mix group, or a representative group. And it's sometimes called an event planning team or a design team. And they help design a customized agenda for engaging the larger system in whatever the question of the moment is. So those three pieces, along with those three questions, really go hand in hand. Now, the three questions can be for the leadership. What's the purpose of gathering the leaders together? Who needs to be a part of that leadership group? And what conversations does that leadership team need to have in advance of that session, that larger group session? Then you get the design team together and you say, well, what's the purpose of the design team getting together? Who needs to be involved with the design team? And what conversations does the design team need to have in getting ready for the larger event or session? And then when you have the larger session, you're going to say, what's the purpose of this larger session? Who needs to be involved in the larger session? And what conversations or agenda needs to happen during that larger session? So that will be that'll be a kind of a typical model that'll happen in the course of the class, in the course of our work that we do. Almost everything you do, you'll see those three things along with those three questions happening. And so with that, and for tonight, what I'd like to do is think of tonight as a little bit of a design session. So I, as the leader for the class, have already had my own purpose, my own who needs to be involved, in my own conversation. You all are like a design group getting ready for our class experience. So the design group is not everybody from the class; it's almost everybody, but it's a representative group, and in this case, it's most of the class. And we're discussing the actual design of the actual class experience when the class comes together. So we are a design team, if you will, tonight. And we're going to go through some of the material, and I'm kind of taking advantage of what happened last week by not having the session and hearing from Joe that you all are ready to get going. Let's use tonight as sort of a design team experience to get ready for our class experience. So the purpose for tonight is to connect and design and customize our class experience to ensure that it's a really great experience for you all. And so that's the purpose for tonight. So with that, we've got a variety of people, and you're seeing my screen, and we're recording. And if I go to the preview, we have up here some questions. So you all could come in and ask your questions or what questions you have that you bring tonight. So what I'd like to do is our question roll call person, if you would please, start with the roll call. And who's our roll call person?
That's Erin, me.
Hi, Erin. Okay, Aaron, I'm
Hi.
going to make you an organizer. You're going to see something that's going to make you an organizer, and your control panel is going to change, and you're going to see all the attendees. We have a lot of people here. This is the cool thing. I love our program is growing. We've got lots of students. So we don't have, it's 9:24. We are probably going to go over everybody. And so people that need to leave early, and granted, we didn't pick an ending time, but we may end up going till 10:30, which I don't want to do, but I want to make sure you have everything you need and we have a great experience. So an extra 30 minutes now can pay off in spades later. So with that, Aaron, if you could, if each person could take 30 seconds, and what I'd like you to say is what's your reaction to the syllabus and the material that you read, and what's the question you bring tonight. And if our notes takers that have agreed to take notes, if you could add the questions into number 2 that's on the screen, make sure we have a good list of questions that people bring. So Aaron, if you could, start with one person, and then what you do is say, let's go with Brody and Chris, you're on deck. And then you say so-and-so. After Chris goes, okay, great, Chris, go. And Jim, you're on deck, so to speak, all the way through so we have everybody. And what I'd like everybody to do is just basically say, what's your reaction to the class and the material, if you had a chance to look at it, and what's the question you bring tonight? So Aaron, could you take us through?
Sure thing. Anna, you were really active in the document. Would you mind starting us off? And then maybe could we have Rob go second?
Sure. Hi, this is Anna Leinert. I did go through the documents, and so you can see several of my questions there, and I just added another one. I think the questions I'm bringing are just more logistics and understanding expectations and, just making sure all the details are in order. But overall, I'm really excited, and I made a note also that I'm really appreciative of the level of detail you've provided us, and looking forward to getting started.
Okay, Rob, you're up, and how about Nikki's on deck?
All right, well, thank you. I'm looking at the individual projects and assignments, and I haven't had a chance to look over the syllabus in its entirety. I know it's in sort of a primordial stage here, but is there any way we can get one of these assigned, maybe if everyone else agrees, and have it done before we meet the first time, so we can have part of the requirements completed while we have some spare time between classes here?
Okay, sounds like Rob is done. So Nikki, you're on, and let's see, is Chris Blair is with us. How about Chris Blair after Nikki? And remember to mute yourself after you're done.
I'm thinking Nikki might be missed. Missing in action.
Oh, yeah, okay. So Chris then? Chris Blair?
Yeah, I've looked over the syllabus, and
I'm not going to lie, it's overwhelming.
But I think we can manage it. As
far as questions go, it's just more clarification on...
Hold on one second. Somebody, it might be you. Not sure why it's reverberating.
I'm on my
Try talking again. It's really reverberating when you talk, echoing. Try again.
I'm on a phone,
so I'm not sure why it's doing that.
It might be somebody else, but it's weird. Okay, go ahead. We'll just live with it.
Good. I'll be quick. I like the syllabus. A little overwhelming, and I'm just trying to get it all clarified.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I just discovered how to unmute. Nikki's here as well.
Okay. Hi, Nikki. Can Kim F go next after Nikki? Go ahead, Nikki.
Okay. Sure. My initial reactions, I am the Google girl, hence why I can't figure out how to unmute GoToMeeting. So I've not used many of these systems outside of the Google systems, so I am really interested to figure out what else is there, and think I'm going to be challenged to try to learn some of these these other systems. I think the question that I come in with is to figure out how they all fit together. Because working within these, I mean, I do cross-continent, cross-time zones a lot, and it always seems to be messy. So my question is, I'm excited to learn the different processes of really figuring out how to make things less messy and use potentially cross platforms to figure out the best solutions.
Okay, thanks. Kimberly F. And then after that, how about Brody?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had muted and want to make sure I'd muted. I'm definitely excited, and I kind of echo Nikki. I'm familiar with just some basic systems of collaboration, but many of these I'm not familiar with. And I'm also interested in just seeing how we incorporate a lot of the things that we've learned to use in person, and how do you maintain some of that interpersonal interaction with a client or a group across these different channels. I think that's always a challenge. I know in my job now we do a lot of webinars and web meetings, and sometimes that can be a challenge, I think, when interacting with people. So I'm just interested in learning more about that, learning the systems themselves, but also how to incorporate the interpersonal aspects when you're not in front of someone.
Okay, Brody's up, and then Jim, why don't you go after Brody?
Hey guys, as I'm just kind of sitting here looking at the syllabus, there's really not a whole lot of question I have about the syllabus specifically. It's pretty straightforward and pretty detailed. You know, for me, I guess one of the things that I'm looking to have answered is what are some of the reading assignments, or what are the different pieces that I can be more proactive on to be prepared as we enter into the semester, and especially entering into that first residency weekend.
Thanks, Brody. Jim, you're up, and Kim W., how about you go after Jim?
Okay, this is Jim. I think the syllabus I didn't have too much question about, but the first paper, the mind mapping paper, I had sort of a question as to whether we're doing the mind map on mind mapping, or if there's are we choosing topics to mind map. So, but other than that, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great building experience.
Thanks. Kim W., and then Kyle.
You're on mute, possibly.
Oh, Kim W., I think you're still on mute.
Sorry about that. Let's see, for questions, I guess I would just stick with the one that I put in the original document, just about understanding what's due when in terms of the hard deadlines. I'm actually really looking forward to this class just because I have done a lot of online training. That's a big part of my job right now, is putting on online classes, mostly through WebEx and Articulate and things like that. But I think I have a skill set that could potentially be useful here, and I'm excited to learn some new things as well.
Cool. All right, Kyle, you're up, and how about Tammy after Kyle?
All right, hi guys. I have read through the documents briefly. Like everyone else said, I do feel what's been provided has been very detailed. My questions really mirror almost exactly what Jim said around the mind mapping activity, and then like everyone else as well, just understanding some of the hard deadlines for some of the assignments. Looking back at the last resident weekend and talking with everybody, it seems like everybody's got a pretty chaotic May coming up. I know I do, so just so I can plan my time.
Oh, okay, thank you, Kyle. Tammy, you're up, and Chris Stackhouse is on deck.
Evening, everybody. I'm going to mirror some of the comments that have already been made as well. I have looked over the documents, not a whole lot of questions there. I think the biggest thing that I have is what some of you have already mentioned. What can we be doing now to sort of get prepared, do some things and get them out of the way before we get to that residency weekend?
Thanks, Tammy. Okay, Chris Stackhouse, and after that, how about Mike?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you can.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Yep, I can hear you.
Just a smidge bit louder if you can.
What about now?
It's better.
Okay. I'll try to speak up. The question I would have is knowing when it's best to use a technology collaboration tool like this, or when good old-fashioned talking face-to-face is better.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Is anybody there?
Oh yeah, I'm here. Could you all hear me?
I hear you now, yeah.
We didn't hear anything before that.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's.
So you want me to go now? This is Mike.
Hey, Mike. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Hey, really excited about the prospect of the course. I have reviewed the documents, syllabus, and was able to click on some of the links that were provided, and it really looks like it's going to be a great learning experience. So my questions, I guess, really center around the two team projects and just, I guess, what the expectations. I'm very a little bit anxious regarding my level of skill with technology and how that's going to be able to play into these sort of collaborative events and things like that. So that's where my biggest concerns are. It's just really more of a personal thing because I have very strong collaborative technology skills.
So is that everybody? Was anybody else?
I don't know if we lost Aaron, but
I think we lost Aaron. It's Brian Schrampke.
Brian, go ahead.
No, Erin's here. She's muted herself.
She doesn't like us anymore.
So Erin, you're here. You're muted if you're talking. So.
Hi, Steve. This is Joe. Can you hear me?
Nope.
Very nice.
So Joe, for everybody here, Joe was a student in my class back in the early 1900s.
And real quick, are we starting with 60-15 and then doing 60-30 in the second half of the semester? Is that the kind of the idea?
That is the actual, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So if I were to answer the question, Steve, I've looked at the documents as well, and of course I'm familiar with them to some extent. But my question is, how are we going to improve upon the blended learning between the two classes and improve based on the learnings from last year?
Okay, great.
With the eye on continuous improvement, not making less of last year because I thought it went well, but as a lean guy, my eye is always on continuous improvement.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, hello, this is Erin. I'm back. I'm sorry. My unmute button wouldn't work there for a minute, and so I logged out and logged back in.
Okay.
So apologies, everybody. I believe Mike went. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, how about Brian and Juliana on deck?
Okay, hey, it's Brian. Couple of observations I did get the chance to read through, and one is somebody who flies every week, narrowing down this list of books to carry on an airplane would be wonderful. Also, looking at the content, no disrespect to Corey or Dr. Wheeler, but we're not in recess anymore, are my two takeaways. And then in terms of questions, I think several of you, I work with global organizations and global teams, so scheduling and managing real-time interaction across multiple time zones is one of my big things that I would like to find some things to deal with in terms of how that gets scheduled, and also in how to manage cross time zone type interactions.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Juliana, and then Matt.
For me, I'm the same with everybody else. I feel excited and kind of mirroring Kim Walker. That I also do a lot of the WebEx and stuff like that. So this is awesome. I don't think it will be a challenge yet. And as for questions, I just like to see the answer to all those questions that whoever typing in. That's all.
Okay. Thanks, Juliana. Matt, and then Brianna.
Hello. I'm going to be, and people have heard me talk on a broken record about what I do, but I'll be opening Cedar Point May the 9th and having a media day May the 8th. So my concern is getting hard dates so I can be as proactive as possible, as my work schedule will be pretty insane leading up to our first residency weekend.
Thanks, Matt, and we are all thinking about you. Maybe we'll come see you. Brianna, you're up next, and then Sarah.
Okay, hi, this is Brianna. I did get a chance to read through most of the documentation, and I'm kind of echoing what everyone else has said, is just hard dates, where do we start, and then kind of how much of this, I know we have draft everywhere on here, so how much of this is going to change as we go through this?
Okay, thanks, Brianna. Sarah.
Hi, everyone. This is Sarah. My question's around mixed groups and just hoping to learn some techniques and how to engage people on the phone when you also have a large group meeting together in person. I am looking forward to the facilitation side of things with the sessions and learning about how to draw people into the conversation.
Thanks, Sarah. Steve, can you re-add me as an organizer? When I had to log off and on, I just came back in as a regular attendee.
I wouldn't do it for her.
Okay.
I think
It's done?
Julie. Julie and then Betty, please.
It looks like Julie's on mute.
Yep. Hey, Julie, you're still on mute. There you go. Yep.
Okay. So one of the things that I'm really excited about is the new technologies that I'm going to be learning. Since taking over my new role, as advanced as I thought the company was in the technologies that they use, they are not. So I'm really excited to see what different things that I can learn. One of the specific questions that I had, I'm not familiar with the screencast that was mentioned. So I'm curious as to if that's a specific program that we would use, or if there are different ways to use a screencast. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Julie. Betty, and then it looks like has everyone else gone? I think I've got everybody except for me. Okay, Betty, and then I'll close it out.
Betty, you must be on mute because we can't hear you.
It doesn't look like she's on mute though. I'm not sure if you call in.
Betty, are you with us still?
Okay, Aaron, go
All
ahead.
right.
You go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
I think that's coming from Mike.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was clicking around.
Well, Mike, if that's you,
Okay.
Mike, if that's you, you got two things going. I'm not sure if you called in and got your computer. You need to turn your computer microphone and system off. Just use one. So there you go. That's good.
Thanks. Sorry,
That's good.
trying to do technology skills.
It's all right. You're learning. That's why we're here.
For me, I think I feel really comfortable with text-based tools and not so much with visual or video tools. So I'm a little more nervous about getting comfortable in using some of those. So that's going to be my learning curve. And my question was just whether or not we would be responsible for organizing our own groups, or if you had predetermined some groups.
Okay, great. So first off, lots of great questions. When I look at the questions, what are some themes that you all see in what you heard? So Aaron, are there any themes in the questions that you noticed?
Well, I think there's a lot of eagerness to learn new things, and I think even for those of us who've expressed some qualms or nervousness about new things, I think we're all still interested in being exposed to new things.
Great. What are some other themes that you all heard in the questions?
One theme that jumped out to me, and sorry, this is Brody. One theme that jumped out to me was the concept of being comfortable with the framework. So what the schedule look like? How do we tackle specific things? And then comfort with the tools. How do we use these individual pieces of technology by themselves or together to maximize the impact?
Great. Okay. And somebody else was going to add something, Brody?
Oh, this is Anna, and Brody said it much better than I did, so thank you very much.
Anybody want to add anything else? Joe, what are you hearing?
What I'm hearing, Steve, is people are looking for clarification and have an interest in what the whole thing looks like. And right now, I think they may not be able to see the whole thing because of all the pieces.
This is Rob. I think very well. I think we tried to get our hands around the classes. Kind of, I know I did, and I think some of the people I talked to were trying to kind of get our hands around it and understand the expectations and get the pace. And I'm not really 100% sure I understand what all can be expected in the pace. We have heard through the grapevine this class is a little more demanding than maybe some of the other ones. So if that rumor's not true, you can go ahead and dispel that now if you like.
I won't dispel it.
Okay. Well, thank you for confirming it.
Yeah. But it's all geared towards giving you exactly what you need to be competitive and have a competitive advantage in whatever it is you're going to do next with these degrees, this degree to help you in the future. And yeah, so we'll talk about that. And I think you'll find that it's going to, in some ways, it's going to be challenging, not from the task perspective, but really from the invitation for you to own what you're really good at, and for you to step into more of your leadership role in doing this kind of work in this class as well as in the 6060 class. But we'll talk more about that, and I'll make sure we're in order to do that, we have to be really clear about expectations and what's due when and all those kinds of things, have really clear structure. So that'll work well. Kimberly Ann, I had to mute you. If you can mute yourself, you were causing some reverb. So I'm going to unmute you in a minute, but if you could in the control panel or on your computer, but you can go into the GoToMeeting control panel. If you could mute yourself, I'd appreciate that, because there was a lot of reverb with your computer. So I just unmuted you, Kimberly. So you need to mute yourself, or I'm going to mute you again.
I'm the one typing, so I had myself muted. Not quite sure what happened.
Yes, you just mute yourself. So you're not muted, so I'm going to go ahead and mute you. So I had to mute you, Kimberly, only because it's you haven't muted yourself. In the control panel, you can do that. So cool. So let's jump in. We've taken a lot of time to kind of get into the questions and stuff, and that's a characteristic with with a larger cohort. And so I'm going to have to be mindful of that as we try to find ways to have these online sessions and give everybody voice. So first off, I'm really excited and looking forward to what we're about to embark on. The class is a class that I believe is the next step for you after you jump in and get your first 2 courses in, because now it's about stepping up even more into what the master's degree is about and building your mastery around doing this work. And so it's really an exciting time, because the way the class has been designed, and it's been since 1996, so almost 20 years in the making of creating this experience for you. And how we're going to do this, and tonight the intention, I'm going to try to go a little bit further than originally planned. What I didn't plan on tonight being is an introduction and a kickoff to the class. So I'm trying to get closer to that and utilize this opportunity to listen to your questions, make sure I answer your questions, and help get some of your input so that we can design the class and I can customize more the class over the next couple weeks. The general rule of thumb that is set up in the program is that the class officially starts 3 weeks before our residency. After tonight, you will have enough information to get started and get working on the main project that is due prior to the first residency. And my question tonight is going to be, can we do one additional thing around the group projects, the group facilitation projects, which I'll discuss with you tonight. And we may get some of that started in advance of the first residency and get some of the teams formed. We will get all the teams formed before the residency, but actually get some of the teams to actually deliver a deliverable on the first weekend, and other teams deliver their deliverable on the second residency, and other teams delivering their deliverables online. So I'll explain that in just a minute. And the second thing that I heard in the themes is really having a sense of the structure and understanding what's required and when so that you can plan appropriately. And that will definitely be done. So it may be done sooner than the 3 weeks prior to our first residency, but by the Monday, 3 weeks before, we will have another session, and we probably will have one before that. But on that Monday, by that Monday, we'll have the entire semester mapped out, what's due when, and you'll have everything mapped out and know what's required, and you can plan accordingly. So we'll definitely have all that done. And tonight, I won't have all that figured out for you. Tonight, I'll use a lot of your feedback to help guide me as I customize those solutions for you. Second thing is you all talked a lot about, which I heard a lot about your interest in the tools and being able to use them. And the class is going to focus on two types of tools. One are online collaboration tools. A large portion of the class is going to be about in-person collaboration and facilitation tools. So it's not an online collaboration class. It is a collaboration class that looks at how do we use online tools, in-person tools, and blended approaches to collaboration. The other thing I think I heard people asking about was, where do I start and what do I carry in my briefcase or my suitcase when I'm traveling, and how, like starting this weekend, where do I focus? I'll be able to answer that tonight. The focus will be on the mind map assignment, and I'll give you some tips so that you can get started and get cruising through it starting this weekend. And so I think that's it in terms of what I heard. And Joe, is there anything that you would add to what I've said?
No, Steve. I think that was well put, and I'm just listening in more to see how the course gets designed, and so that I can develop ideas about how it'll merge and blend with 60/30, and I know you and I will have more conversations about that offline as well.
Okay, cool. So again, so starting with this, I said I was excited about this. I'm excited on two fronts. One, I love how you all have gotten yourselves started in the program. Not only are you all working well together, there is such a great vibe and an intensity around learning, around working together, and around getting the most out of the program. I'm just super excited about that. And the faculty that have worked with you thus far have said that you are just raising the bar on not only just what it means to be a collaborative cohort, and particularly a large collaborative cohort, but really raising the bar on getting off to a great start and setting a tone for high performance, doing great work in teams, doing great work together, and a genuinely positive attitude about learning and working well with the faculty and the program and so forth. So I couldn't be more excited and just really pleased about what I think is we're about to experience together. So when I heard that you all were ready to go and Joe talked to me last week, I was like, great, let's see if I can get moving a little bit faster and give you all a little bit more tonight and see if we can get the ball rolling without compromising your other class and those kinds of things. And Joe told me that you all assured him that you all were pretty well done and ready to start making the transition. Is that, and you can look in the control panel. Well, you can't raise your hands in this because it's not a webinar. That's interesting. So is that the general tone of Joe, what was talked about? Aaron, if you could kind of chime in.
I was not on the call with Joe, but I think, yeah, I think we are ready to start. We're, just kind of finishing our last bits of conversation in the final discussion question for Dr. Wheeler. Everything else is done.
Okay. Okay, great. Anybody want to add anything else to what I've said that would help confirm or elaborate on what I've said?
Steve, this is Chris Blair. If I could, I just want to add or ask a question if Joe's still on here. And I'm not trying to take time away from you, but unlike Aaron, I was unable to get involved at all last week. I couldn't get on. I didn't know what was going on. So I don't know what Joe has asked of us yet, and I didn't know if that was somewhere online where we could go and watch what took place last week.
There's nothing recorded from last week. I think Joe can summarize a little bit of that after we get towards the end. Maybe Joe could talk with you. We could stay on a little bit afterwards, and Joe could repeat some of the things. I think maybe that's what we'll do is we'll finish up my portion because we kind of tag team and I go first. We handshake and then hand off. And so maybe we can end tonight in having a revisit around Joe summarizing from last week's conversation for those that couldn't be there. Would that work for you?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Well,
go ahead.
Can you hear me now? It's Betty Jimenez.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, great. And Julie made some very nice notes about our meeting last week. I don't know, Julie, if you would like to share it with the rest of the group. I think that they were really useful. It's one page, and I think it's really a pretty good, briefly resume of what we talked about last week.
Is there a way to send that out in an email to everybody?
Yeah, I think so. I can take care of it.
Yeah, send that out to everybody. Even send it now if you can, if you're on your computer, Beatrice, and so go ahead and send it on out so that everybody has it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It is 10 o'clock, by the way. Just throwing it out there.
What's that? Thank you. Yeah,
10 o'clock.
What, do you turn into a pumpkin, Rob?
No,
I'm just doing my job. It's nothing personal. Okay?
Oh, thank you.
Back off. Thank you.
Okay, great. So with that, let's jump in. So I think a couple things I talked about. I think one thing is that tonight, let's jump into the requirements and some of the basics so that I can get your questions answered. We will have another session, and then we'll have an official kickoff to the class. So we're sort of getting unofficially started to complement those of you that are ready to get started. I'm going to use tonight and your questions and comments to help me as I customize the final pieces of the design, the schedule, and those kinds of things. And again, Joe and I are here. We worked really hard last year to make sure the classes complemented each other. And it is a step up. I'm not sure who asked that question, but it is definitely a step up. So the intensity is increasing. And these two classes, I think, build on what you've experienced in the previous class and take it to the next level on a variety of fronts. Second thing with the class, when I look at the design, the class is not one that will make complete sense in terms of what you're supposed to learn and know and be able to do before you start the class. The way the class and the competencies are being delivered, it's a situated learning experience where you get a problem or you get a challenge or you get a task, and then you learn in service of that task. So with that, you'll get the mind map assignment paper, and then your job is to get started on it. And then we learn what we need to learn in order to get that done. Resources will be provided, I'll be available, and you got a lot of different things that will help guide you in learning it. But you're going to get started. You're not going to get taught how to do it and then do it. You're actually going to get the assignment and get started on it, and then you start learning the resources and tools, learning from the resources and tools that you need in order to get it done. It simulates the real world in that we'll oftentimes get tasks and then we have to learn what we need to learn in order to get the task done. And it gives you, it engages you in a different way and makes it a richer, more sticky learning experience. So That's the fundamental principle of how the class is designed. And some of the stuff will make sense as you go through it or at the end, and you'll be going, oh, now I get how we did that or why we did that. The good thing is it's not going to be chaotic totally, in the sense that, yes, there'll be some things you'll be doing, but you won't be sure why they fit. It'll also be very structured. You're going to have due dates, things to do, clear instructions like you got for the assignment with a clear outline, got to do this here, and so forth. There'll be clear instructions and clear steps. And you just sometimes have to kind of follow the steps in order to get to where you need to get, and there will be no confusion about that. It just may be connecting all the dots as you're struggling to make sense of everything and figure out how to apply what you're learning. Just go ahead and treat this as a laboratory. It's laboratory learning with situated learning theory, and it will all start to come to fruition for you as you go through the process. Some of you will get it at the beginning, middle, and some at the end. So it'll happen at different times. You'll get what you need for where you are in your learning experience and in your own personal journey on this. And I am always available. I want to make real clear. You can call me. I don't care what time of day or night or weekend. You can text me. You can email me. I don't care what. I will make the time. You got me. I'm your consultant. While you got me, my job is to make sure you have what you need. So when we're done, the next class gets all my attention. The next cohort gets all my attention when I'm working with them. So I'm your personal coach and your on-call support through all of this. So use me as you need to help you through the process in your learning. So that's the way situated learning is. You ask me as you need the learning, and we use everything, all the resources to help you through it. So with that, we talked about facilitating organizational collaboration. And what it looks at here is the key is it's not the technology based, it's collaborative process, in person, online, or blended. And so as we go through the class, you've got what I call my organization development version, sort of more academic oriented outcomes, and the bumper sticker versions. And so in the class, you're gonna be able to make a compelling case for what you know and can do with regard to facilitating collaboration. You're going to be able to demonstrate and talk about how these different methods from World Cafe to Open Space, how they're effective and the results you can get from them. You will be able to really you'll be able to continuously learn and grow and be on your path. We're going to make sure that you're on your path to learning throughout the course of the program. Looking at opportunities for collaborative work, facilitate confidently and masterfully in a variety of situations, from meetings to 1 to 3 day collaborative events like summits. And how do you adapt and anticipate and adapt collaborative events, such as a meeting, all the way to a 1 to 3 day summit? And how do you design those events and propose them and pitch them to get them sold as an internal person in doing OD work, as a leader in an organization, as a consultant externally? How do you design, implement, and actually sell these things and get them to be adopted from whatever perspective you're in? And so with that, I talked about the design being the situated learning, and you've got a variety of stuff here. We talked about the books. So when you travel, what's interesting is when we were writing the Change Handbook, which we are looking at the next version, and it's going to be a little bit different with the digital age, having printed and digital elements. We looked at the Change Handbook being hardback or softback, and what's interesting, we chose softback because it would fit better in luggage when you traveled. And the book that you're going to want to carry with you is the Change Handbook. The other books are all my gift to you, so to speak, because the other books we will draw from, and I will talk about how they can fit in to what you're learning. But these are books that I think you should have in your library. And because they're part of our budget, normally we have 3 books. I actually asked for 5, and they gave me all 5 for you all. So the focus book for the class is the Change Handbook. Don't just do something stand there. It is an awesome book, and it'll be a part of your resources for your facilitation project with your small group. That is an excellent book around how to facilitate events for meetings and those kinds of things. And Flawless Consulting is a classic from Peter Block, and it's just a great guide to how you facilitate and guide various consulting projects. It's excellent for that. The Handbook of High Performance Virtual Teams, that's a new book that was picked from last year. We spent some time picking it. The students love it. It's a big book, and it is just, again, it's another resource for you. The Big Book of Flip Charts is a new book that I'm also adding, and that one is the art of graphic facilitation using flip charts, using whiteboards. That is really key to a lot of the work that you'll be doing. When you can step up in front of a room and help a group take their conversation and convert it into words and pictures and metaphors in front of them, that's a skill set as a leader, a skill set as a facilitator that will help you immensely in a lot of situations. So the main book will be the Change Handbook. Think of the other 4 books as for your library that I will give you specific guidance on how to draw from it and how it will help you with the various projects. So let me pause there and see what questions people have around the books. Aaron, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. I actually had flipped through the Change Handbook, and I found pieces of it that I really liked already, and I'm excited to use it for the mind map and other processes.
Okay, cool. Anybody else have a question? I know we got a lot of people on here, so I'll just try to manage this the best I can by just saying, floor is open. Any questions from anybody about the books and anything I've said up to this point?
No.
Okay, so clear as a bell or clear as mud?
Clearer.
Clearer. It's kind of like trying to nail Jello to a tree. So,
right.
All right. So that's a good start there. So with that, what I'm most concerned with tonight is the biggest question was, how do we get off to a good start, and what's the structure of due dates? And I'm going to get you started and give you a little bit of a heads up on some of the due dates, and then ask you a final question, and then we'll wrap up. That will help me formulate the schedule for the rest of for the semester before we have our official kickoff. So I'm just going to walk through this. The syllabus talks about online collaboration tools, a few things. So let me give you a high-level look at the due dates, which kind of give you a sense of the schedule, and then I'm going to focus on the mind map. You have 2 individual projects and 2 group projects, as it says here. The individual project is your mind map. You're going to do a draft. You're going to have peer reviews of your draft. You're going to have some discussion forum around the draft. Then you're going to do a final. And then you're going to do a personal OD library. The personal OD library, you don't have instructions on. I'll give those to you after, because my main focus tonight was on what can you get started with. And the first due date, first thing that's due, is the draft for your mind map. And there's lots to do with that. So you got plenty to do. If you want to get started, you just jump into that sucker. And it's a great place to jump right into, because it'll give you a real good sense for what this class is about. The personal OD library is a beginning point. I'll talk more about this as we get closer to the start of the semester, and you'll get your instructions. But essentially, it's a 2-part deliverable, or the deliverable has 2 elements to it. The first element is how do you organize all your information, all your tools, all your resources from your master's program, as well as other tools and other resources you get, other articles, other templates. How do you organize all of that? What's your personal library for organizing everything that you are gathering that helps you do what you do, whatever it is that you're doing with your OD degree? So what's the technology that you use to organize, to what is your system for organizing, and those kinds of things. Second piece to the OD library is, what is your personal method for change? The Change Handbook has 60+ methodologies for change. You're going to write your own chapter in our final class in 6060 at the end of the program. You're going to write up your own personal method for change. The personal OD library has you get started on doing a little brief summary of what you think that might look like if you knew what it was. And you're going to use the elements from the mind map. There's 6 design elements that are consistent with any methodology. And again, you're going to see this in the article and resources for the mind map, and it'll explain it to you. Essentially, when you look at the 60 methods in the Change Handbook, they are all very established methods that have a community of practice around them. When you look across all 60 of them, they answer questions in 6 buckets, if you will. These are 6 design elements. If you can answer those 6 questions around what you are going to do with your degree next, you're going to actually invent your own personal method for organization development, your own personal method for change. And that's the other element to the personal OD library. So it's going to be, how do you organize all the information? And second, what's a starting point for what is your personal method that you're going to be taking forward after this program in terms of your own OD methodology, similar to those in the Change Handbook. That'll be the personal OD library. Those are 2 assignments. Now, on the group projects, you're going to pick one of the methods and you're going to facilitate that in the course of our experience in the classes. So for the first residency, my offer or invitation is, who in the cohort would like to facilitate the first weekend and is willing to get off to a faster start in small groups? And so what we'll do is I'm actually going to give an opportunity for 3 different groups to work in advance of the first weekend, 1 online and 2 in person. And so the 2 in person, it'll be a small group of people, and that will want to work on World Cafe. Another will be a small group that wants to deliver an open space, and the third will be a group that wants to utilize online webinar technology for giving a basic webinar that has got a collaborative element to it. And so those will be the 3 prior to the first weekend. And then after the weekend, we'll have other small groups do the other methods, and you'll facilitate on the second residency. Then the last thing there is a collaborative event proposal. What we're going to do is we're going to have people specializing in the methods from the mind map that you analyzed. So there's going to be, let's say, there's 7 methodologies that you're analyzing. We're going to have people in teams around those 7 methodologies facilitate a method experience as a small group project. We're then going to max mix. We're going to max mix those teams such that we have a team with a person from the World Cafe, from the open space, from the future search, from the whole scale change, and so forth, all on one team. And you'll be consulting teams, and then what you're going to do is work with a client and present a proposed draft design for a summit. And the client's going to come in, you're going to work with them, you're going to present and propose a solution. It's going to be evaluated amongst, and I think with our size of our class, I think we're going to probably have 5 teams, 4 or 5 teams. And the client is going to pick in a fishbowl one of the 5 as the one they would pick as the best of the group that would solve or deliver what they need. So that's the general flow. I don't expect you all to understand all of this right now. It's a very intricate design that will make sense as you go through it. What I do think is the most important thing to focus on right now is the mind map, and the second thing is who in the class would like to get started in a small group method experience prior to the first residency, and if you all are interested in that, maybe get a little bit of that discussion going. So what I'm going to do is start with the mind map. And again, I want you all to know that we're getting started faster than slower. So right now, you all are probably going, I just skimmed it. I'm totally lost. That's normal. I got it. I'm kind of following. I didn't look at anything. I don't know what the heck's going on. To, man, it sounds like a lot of stuff. How is it going to all unfold? You should be there because I'm throwing a lot of it at you right now. and I've got the design set up such that it'll make sense as we go through it, like I said earlier. So a lot of times what you need to do is just do what's in front of you. And then when we get closer to our first weekend, I'm going to have all the due dates and basically just do what's on the schedule and do the assignments as I lay them out for you. And as long as you do what's coming up, you'll be good to go. For those of you that just like go, I don't want to think about all of it, I'll just say, okay, first thing you need to do, work on the mind map. Don't worry about anything else. Then I'll say, okay, now you got that done. Next, work on this. Next, work on this. So for those of you that want that, no problem. Those of you that want to really understand how it all weaves together, I'll be laying it all out as we go. You'll need to hear this 2 or 3 times and you'll get it. So with that, the mind map, let me talk about that for a second. The mind map is right here. This is a draft. I will improve upon this a little bit. It's very close and pretty much done, but there might be a couple customizations things here. So essentially what I want you to do, your assignment is in the Change Handbook. If you've got the Change Handbook, pull it out. This is your first assignment. You want to get started tonight. So what you're going to do is with your task, you need to read in the Change Handbook the following methods. Okay, that's right here, the task. Go in there and read the appreciative inquiry, future search, open space, graphic facilitation, charrettes, and then I want you to go out to maestroconference.com. I want you to learn everything you can about Maestro Conference. And then I want you to pick 2 other methods from the Change Handbook or outside that are collaborative methods that you find interesting. So essentially you've got 1, 2, hey, don't do that. Whoever's doing that, don't do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Maestro Conference is 6, plus 2 others, 7 and 8. And the 2 others can be from the Change Handbook, or they can be outside of the Change Handbook. And pick those methods that you find most interesting, those extra 2. And then your job is to read them first. Second is then to follow the process that's outlined down here. First, as it said, get started. And so this is now 2 methods. I changed it. And it's Maestro Conference. I've added this because Maestro is really taken on a life of its own. And I think it really adds to the experience. So you will go through these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here, these 6, 7, 8, and you'll read them. Next thing you want to do is conduct an affinity diagram of those methods utilizing the 6 design elements. And the 6 design elements are the design buckets. And what they are is anybody who designed a methodology such as open space, future search, appreciative inquiry, each of these people designed a methodology that had a large community of practice, people that are utilizing it. It's scalable, it's understandable, and it's having a positive impact in a demonstrated way in the world. They have all answered 6 fundamental questions in designing and creating their method and writing their method up, like in the Change Handbook. They wrote it up in the Change Handbook. They wrote it up in other places. They answered these 6 questions in writing it up in such a way that it made it very accessible to a broad audience so that people around the world could actually duplicate and use what they have. So what you're going to do is accelerate your learning to start first by dissecting each of these methods and saying what's common amongst them in terms of these 6 design elements. You're going to utilize these as a lens to understand them. Again, this is situated learning, so you're going to learn in service of this task that you're getting right now. So learning in service of the task will require you utilizing the resources, which I'll show you in just a second. So then third is you create a mind map. Now, what I would say is I would say a creative visual, okay? And the reason I say that is it doesn't have to be exactly It doesn't have to be exactly a mind map per se. I think a mind map is a great way to do it. So you take your learning from doing an affinity diagram, which is a very good technique. It's used a lot in process improvement and a lot of other ways. So you take and do an affinity diagram using the 6 elements. Once you're done with that, you take your learning and you reconvert it or summarize it into a mind map or a creative connecting visual of the patterns you found around those 6 elements. Once you've done that, you write your report. When you write your report, you use this outline. You have a cover page, executive summary. As it says here, executive summaries are not telling us what you're going to tell us. It's a 1-page exact summary of the content in your document. So it's actually it's more than a summary of your table of contents. It is the actual content summarized, like a 1-page cliff notes. Then you go into your content, and it gives you the body of the paper, and here is an outline for you to use. So you got that. And then after the outline, let me go up here and talk about resources. Under your resources, basically what you've got is this is the Change Mastery article right here, and Whole System Transformation is an earlier article. The Change Mastery article describes, I wrote up the experience that we had in the class, so it summarizes the process as an article published in the Organization Development Practitioner. So that will summarize and tell you about what we do and what the process looks like. And this is another article describing the 6 elements. Here's the Change Handbook. This is the other resource that you need in order to apply the assignment. And here are 3 tutorials. One is on me giving a tutorial on how to do this. It's a longer elaboration of doing the affinity diagram to the mind map and doing those 2. This is writing the paper, and this is a session in which students that did a rough draft of several years ago. So these resources are a little bit different because in some cases I talked about 5 elements, not 6, because we added a 6th emerged as we were doing the work on this. But you'll see it's the same principles and so forth. And the rough draft review session gives you a sense of what people did and what it looks like. So I'm going to stop there and turn it back to Joe. Joe, any elaboration you want to give to the class from what you heard me share?
So they are reading the Mastering Change article that you and I wrote?
Yeah, the Change Mastery article, huh? Yep.
Yep. Okay. All right. I think that will probably be very helpful. I would probably encourage them to maybe read that before they dive in. What do you think, Steve?
I would go through and read the Change Mastery article, the Whole System Transformation article. You can dive in. You can't go wrong with just diving in because but you want to do everything. Dive in, then read, and then dive in, and then reread. But you're going to need to go back and forth between these 2, the Change Handbook and these 3 videos.
Yeah, and I would.
On the right-hand side, this is all just extra resources. Review and use as you find helpful to you. The resources on the left is where you want to focus in terms of getting the assignment done.
And then the only other recommendation I would have, Steve, as they read the methods, would be to just one at a time and then take a little bit of time to reflect rather than trying to read through all 6 or 8 at once, because it is their first experience with them, with those methods. I would really recommend the read one, take a break from that, maybe go do something else for the project, and then come back and read another versus reading straight through.
Right on. Okay. So let me pause. It's time to wrap up. Let me pause and open it up for any questions you have, because we are pretty well done. What you can do is go into the syllabus and you can highlight, right click, and add a comment if you want. So you can add questions throughout, and I'll go through and answer questions in here. But essentially, let me open it up to see what questions people have in general from what I've shared, because tonight is really about just giving you a preview and getting you started and getting us going. So floor is open.
How soon will this be on Canvas?
What's that?
How soon will you be putting this stuff on Canvas?
I might do it sooner than 3 weeks out. One of the general discussions we've had is, when do we officially start the class and being respectful of the other class. So the target is 3 weeks prior to our first residency. And it's not, in one sense, it's not really necessary because you're going to get the syllabus, final design of the assignments, and we'll be getting started, and you'll have everything you need. So you'll be able to really understand the whole class and so forth prior to that 3 weeks out, I think, is my intention.
Okay.
But if I can, it'll be at least 3 weeks out, maybe sooner.
Okay, and I don't see, there's no discussion board requirements?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
There'll be discussion board requirements. It's not it's a couple of them. A lot of it will be, you'll be doing peer reviews of each other's work and through using Canvas to do that, and some discussion board forums throughout. But it might be somewhere in the neighborhood of 2, maybe 3.
Okay, thank you.
And that'll all be it'll all be clearly spelled out. My goal will be to do it, prior to the 3 weeks before, based on us talking tonight. Other questions?
Steve, this is Kyle Alfring, and I just have a question because I was skimming through some of the material and watching some short clips of some of the videos out there before we started this meeting. And when I walked into this, I was a little more overwhelmed. But as you talked, I think, and this is why I'm asking just for clarification. So, because I think I'm on the right path here, but when you were asking the original questions earlier, I mean, you were really starting the affinity process and the mind mapping, weren't you? I mean, that's what you were doing, right?
Yes.
Okay. That was just like
so say that in terms of I was starting that. Would you say more to make sure I understood you?
Right. So when you were asking us the reaction to the syllabus and any general course questions, at the very end of that, you wrapped it up and asked us to what were some of the common themes.
Yes,
and that was the affinity process.
That's fun. That's a principle of the affinity process. We didn't quite do it. I could have taken all the key points that people said, put it up on the screen, and then we could have organized everybody's comments of themes into groups, and that would have become an affinity process. And then I would have used that to create a figure, which would have been the mind map or collective visual.
Okay. I just saw that pattern coming together, and it was a little aha moment for me. So
I was
looking for some clarification there because that.
Yeah, and that's a typical thing. It's called individual collective whole technique that you want to be using in groups that you facilitate. Is ensuring that every individual has a voice. Then having the individuals that have a voice in small groups make sense of that, i.e., theme it through like a principle of affinity. But they basically are developing themes, unique and common, and then that gets reported out to the whole so that you begin to connect what's called systemic breathing, where the individual, the group, and the whole have a conversation in a very efficient way that you couldn't do if you had 50 people sitting in a circle and every person speak. You can't do that. So how do you create small groups and create the individual group whole conversation so you can quickly take a large group through a complex conversation? So yeah, you're right on with that. Other thoughts? Other questions out there? Okay. So with that, the last thing is who would be interested in getting started on this assignment, and who might be interested in getting started in their small group facilitation team where you will facilitate a method. And we're going to look at the three methods are going to be one group is going to do an online webinar, one group is going to do World Cafe, and one group is going to do an open space on our first residency. So it's kind of like a little bit of mayhem here, but who out there, I'll just throw it out there. I know a lot of people might say yes or no or whatever, but who out there right now would say, you know what, I want to get on the mind map and I'd love to get my small group assignment out of the way before the first residency. Who would be interested in getting their small group work done before the first residency?
This is Mike. I'd be interested in getting in a small group working on that because I know that the summers, I've got a really busy summer schedule. And so if anybody's interested in kind of exploring the World Cafe, I'd kind of like to take a look at that.
Great. Okay. Who else?
Mike, this is Chris. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to jump in with that with you.
You don't have to pick tonight because I'm going to do a doodle. It's a technique, and you guys are going to pick. It's first come, first serve. And I'll get them. So I just want to know if we have enough interest to get those three going, which will be nice because it'll influence my design of the experience. So it sounds like we got two people. Who else wants to get started early?
This is Kyle. I'll put my name in.
Okay.
And Tammy, I'll jump in as well.
Okay.
Yana will jump in.
Okay.
Sarah would like to.
Okay, good. So
Yeah, and Aaron.
okay, great. So it looks like
everybody.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be. Not everybody's going to be able to do it, and it's going to work just fine. I know I'm sharing a lot with you, and for those of you out there that might be going, "Wow," I hope I've delivered in terms of helping you feel like you're getting started. Which you all were saying that you were ready to jump in. So there is no better way than to get started with this class than to just jump in. It's not supposed to make sense before you jump in. So the learning is going to be organized and structured. Don't worry about that. Your first assignment is to jump into the mind map, read through the 7, watch the videos, make sure you look at all the resources, and get started. We got enough people to do the small group piece, so I'll get that sent out so people can sign up early for that and get started on that. And focus on the main focus section here from the assignment. Read this, read this, read the Change Handbook, watch these videos, go through these steps here as shown. And we will have another webinar. I might do another online session. Maybe I'll do it next week. And allow it to be a check-in for everybody to say, okay, jump in, you've gotten started, how are you learning, what questions do you have, and we'll focus on the mind map. And by then I'll probably have more of the schedule and some other things. It might be next week, but definitely the week after. It might be Monday the week after, but I'll try to get something probably for next week. It's 10:37. We've done a lot. I hope you got what you wanted for tonight to get yourself with enough to get started. Why don't we do this? A quick one-word checkout, Aaron, which is just really, if you can roll call, I want each person to say what's your one word or bumper sticker takeaway from tonight. And on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of feeling you got what you need to get started, not to be clear, but got what you need to get started and jump in to the murky lake, which you don't know how deep it is or what's in it, but enough to jump in, get started, and what's your kind of bumper sticker phrase as you leave. If you could roll call, it's going to be quick because we've got a lot of people here. That's the only thing I got to keep mindful of. But just do a quick roll call, okay?
So bumper sticker and number between 1 and 10?
Yep. In terms
10
of
being feeling really confident, 1 is, oh my God, what's going on?
10 is, I got what I need to get started. 1 is,
Got it.
no, I have no idea what to do.
Okay. All right, Anna. Bumper sticker and your number.
Okay, next. Oh, Anna's on mute. Hold on, so let me unmute her. You're on mute, Anna. Unmute yourself, Anna. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Dive in and 10.
All right. Rob.
Pumped. 10.
Rob, what'd you say? I didn't hear your bump.
I said pumped.
All right, awesome.
Like pumped up.
All right, I love it.
You up. Pumped.
Okay, Nikki and Chris Blair is on deck. Oh wait, Nikki's gone. Okay, Chris Blair.
Eager and 8.
Kim F. Kim F, give us yours again.
Excited and 10.
Okay. Brody.
Proactive, 8.
Jim.
Okay, I'm interested, and I'll give it a 8.
Okay, Kim W.
I'd say overwhelmed, 8.
Kyle.
I'm also going to say overwhelmed, and I'm going to go with a 9.
Okay. Tammy.
Excited at a 9.
Chris Stackhouse.
Challenge accepted and a solid 5.
Mike.
Yeah, I'm locked in, and it's a 10.
Okay. Brian.
I didn't want no stinking break anyway, and a 10.
All right. Juliana.
I will need time to digest everything, and I'll give it 7 for now.
Okay.
It was not a question. I'm sorry.
Matt.
My bumper sticker phrase is, I don't feel like an honor student, and I'm going to go with a 5.
Okay, Brianna.
I would just say let's do it, and I would be at a 9.
Sarah.
I'm ready to jump in. I'll give it a 9.
Okay. Julie.
Chris took 9 and 7.
Betty. Get Betty.
Okay, next.
Okay, and then me, I would be the last one, so I'll say let's go and 9.
Awesome. So that's good. You guys you feel like you have what you need overall to jump in and get started. And it is supposed to be a bit overwhelming, and you're right where you need to be. And I'll make sure you have what you need to be successful. It'll all start to unfold and take more structure as we go. And so I'm really appreciative of you all wanting to jump in and get started sooner than later. And don't hesitate to contact me offline if you need anything. And so in the meantime, you got what you need to jump in. Look for me to send a communication out to get us set up for our next webinar or our next online session. And with that, again, thank you. Joe, any closing remarks and words of encouragement before we wrap up?
Well, I'm very supportive to all of you, and great feedback. It looks like you're excited to move into things. And right now, don't worry about my course. We are over 2 months out. I'm not even going to open up Canvas until the Sunday of your first weekend with Steve, maybe not even till Monday after. So right now, focus on what Steve talked about. put those project management books aside, and no worries.
Great. Thanks, Joe. So good. Hey, have a great night, everybody. And again, I'm excited to work with you all. And I'll talk with you soon. Be on the lookout for some more communication after tonight. So for now, take care. Have a good evening, and I'll be talking with you soon. I'll send the recording out to you all from tonight as well later for those that couldn't be here or those that want to hear this again. So bye for now. Good night, everybody.